What's up guys, Tyler here from Raceworks, and today we're installing the long-awaited hatchback Fox body drag wing. So I'll give you guys a quick rundown. When you open up your crate, you're gonna pull all your parts out, and we want to double check, make sure you have everything. First item you're obviously gonna see is your main wing deck. Then we have our Wicker bill adjuster, our actual Wicker bill. We have both spill plates, left and right. And then you're gonna have 4 wing struts. For this particular wing, all these wing struts are actually all different from each other. So I'll explain the differences when we actually go to install those. Then you should have one hardware package, and then you should have a shim kit as well. You'll also want to gather up any tools you need, which for this project, you're gonna need a 1/8 and 3/32 Allen wrenches. You'll need 11 32 and 3/8 sockets. You'll need a rivet gun capable of doing 1/8 and 3/16 rivets. You'll want some masking tape if you aren't planning to repaint your hatch, and a tape measure. And then 2 drill bits. You'll want a 3/16 drill bit and a 13/64 drill bit. So our first step is actually going to be to any hatch car is going to have some sort of spoiler attached to the hatch lid. In order to remove that, this panel pops out of the inside. There's 4 screws, just 4 screws along the back, and then push pins on the front side. So you pop those out, and then there'll be nuts that you can access from the bottom. That's how the actual spoiler is bolted in place. Remove all those bolts and the spoiler itself will come off, and then you have a clean slate to get started with. So we're going to identify all of your wing struts. So as I explained, the 4 of them are actually all different from each other. There's 2 ways to tell them apart here. So number 1, all of your tabs, these bend tabs here, they will all face towards the outside of the car. So your left 2 will face the left side of the car, and your right 2 will face the right side of the car. Both of these are obviously lefts then. And then the way to tell inside from outside on these is the inside wing strut has a notch cut out of it. So that way we know ones without the notch are the outside, ones with the notch go on the inside. Separate out the 4 in their proper locations, kind of lay them out on the car here, and I'll show you here how to align them and drill the holes in the deck lid. So in order to install your wing struts, it's best to start on your outside 2. And on this vehicle, we're gonna line it up with the existing holes for the hatch, which are roughly 1.5 inches in from the outside. So if we set our wing strut in place, on our car, it actually comes out to be pretty much even with the bottom edge of the hatch as well. So a good way to double check that though is take your spill plate, and that will simulate the thickness of your wing deck. And you can actually just kind of eyeball down the end to see how it's gonna line up with the back edge of your trunk. So with ours all the way down, it looks just about perfect. So we're gonna go ahead and mark out our 4 holes for this wing strut, and we'll get the drill out. So now you'll get your 3/16 drill bit, and I like to start by drilling just 2 of the holes that you've marked, and then we'll rivet the wing strut in those 2 holes and drill the other 2 holes once it's already in place. That way you alleviate any alignment issues with the 4 holes you have to drill. So get started by drilling 2 right away. So now if we go to our hardware pack, the larger of the 2 rivets are your 3/16 rivets that we'll use on the wing struts. We'll get a couple of those out and rivet the first wing strut in place. So with our first wing strut installed, we'll just repeat the process on the other outer wing strut. So when we go to place our inner wing struts, the first step is going to be measuring our spacing. We like to try and space each wing strut equally across the trunk lid. So what we'll actually do is we'll use our tape measure, and we will measure from this inside edge on each of our outer wing struts. So we'll measure across there. Looks like we are about 51 1/8 on this car. So we'll take that 51 1/8, divide it by 3, and that will give us our spacing from the outside to this same edge on our next inner wing strut. And that will be the same spacing on the other side. So with our 51 1/8 divided by 3, we get just a hair over 17 inches. So we'll go ahead and put our marks at 17 inches. So once we have our marks in place on the trunk lid, we will take our wing strut and we will line the same flat edge up with that mark that we made, not the rivet holes. So the goal is to actually get the bolt holes for the wing deck to all be equally spaced. As you can see, my mark is right there. So we just line that edge up, and then we'll use the same process using our spill plate to do a rough check on our height. And you can slide up and down accordingly. And that looks pretty good. So we'll go ahead and mark our holes right there. We're gonna lay this wing strut out just the same as we did the other inner. Get it held in place and line it up with the mark we made on the trunk. And we'll use this as a guide for height. That looks pretty good. We'll go ahead and drill some holes. So at this point, we should be ready to set the wing deck on it. So we'll go ahead and set that on there. We will want to center it side to side. You can do that just by judging off your body lines. Once we have that where we want it, we'll take our permanent marker and we'll mark. I usually start with the rear 2 holes on the center 2 wing struts. So I'll mark those 2 holes, take the wing deck back off, drill them, and we'll put the wing deck back on, bolt those in place, and then we'll drill the rest of them on the vehicle. That way we don't have to worry about alignment issues. So a good easy way to drill those holes is put your wing deck upside down on something that's not going to scratch it. In this case, we're using a pallet, and we'll go ahead and drill these in from the back side. Oh yeah. So once we have our 2 holes started, we will use our 1032 stainless steel bolts and nuts. Go ahead and put those in both of these holes, and we'll tighten those down, and that'll allow us to drill the rest of our holes from underneath and not worry about hole alignment. Now that we have our 2 bolts installed, we'll go ahead and use our drill, and I'm just going to drill all 3 for the center 2 wing struts, and then we'll work our way to the outside. Now we're ready to install our Wicker bill adjuster. This is just a bent bracket that goes on the underside of the back of the wing. So it will rivet with our 1/8 inch rivets through these holes and through there. On this one, you will have to curve it as you go across the back. You can see this piece is made straight. The wing actually has a curve to it. You'll want to start riveting in the center and just work your way to the outside. Once you have your wicker bill adjuster riveted in place, then you're ready to bolt your wicker bill on. For the wicker bill, you just use the supplied 832 bolts and nuts. And for this car, I think we'll probably just start by putting it in the mid position. So it's adjustable up and down with the slots in the rear. So we'll put it right in the middle for now, and then we'll let him adjust accordingly based on the track conditions. All right, so with our wicker bill bolted in place, we're on to the last step, and that is installing our spill plates. In order to do that, we'll use our remaining 1032 hardware, and we'll go ahead and bolt them on to the side of the main wing deck. Notice here that the holes are actually slotted, so you do have some adjustment fore and aft, and that's just mostly to get it to fit the body the way that you prefer. Some people like to leave a little more space because they will move around just a little bit. Just keep them from rubbing your paint or taillights in this case too. So go ahead and get these bolted on. All right guys, so that completes your Fox Body hatchback dragwing install. Can't wait to see you guys install your own, and tag us in your pictures when you get them all complete.